Okay, I want to show you something. I have instrument buses in this mix session. So one for the drums, one for the bass, the guitars, and the vocals, so you get the idea. And on these channels, I have some processing, so plugins that I inserted throughout the mix. Now, if I want to know if those plugins are actually improving my mix, I need to bypass them. So let's try it out and see how it goes.
Won't you take me home?
Now, the problem I have is the volume is not the same on all those different tracks. You know, I'm actually losing some significant volume when it comes to the drum. So the gain structure is actually all over the place. And this is hard to make a fair comparison to how it sounds like with and without plugins. But I have this very cool plugin that I've been working with for several years that is called Perception AB. And this is how it sounds like when I do the same thing using Perception AB on all those channels at the same time. So stick around because later in the video, I'm going to show you how I set that up to be able to compare several channels at once while working with Perception AB. As you can tell, there's no difference in volume, so the gain structure stays the same, which is great. Because the thing is, usually when we add plugins, we're going to end up with a louder sound, and we'll notice it right away when we bypass all the plugins at once. The levels will not be the same, and that can actually trick us when doing a A/B comparison, because we tend to perceive louder sounds as better, okay? And that is not necessarily the case. So this is why a tool like Perception AB is very useful. Now, just so you know, this is not a sponsored video. I've been working with Perception AB for quite a while. They came out with a new version since, and now the VST3 version is out, which makes Perception AB supported in CUBASE if you work on an M1 Mac in silicon mode, which is great. I do, so I am a happy camper. But before we move on, I have my good friend and mastering engineer and also the guy behind Perception AB, Ian Shepherd, that is going to share with you how he works with Perception AB in a mastering session. Take it over, Ian.
Hello, and Chris, thanks for asking me on. So Perception AB was originally developed as a mastering tool, but we've expanded it so that it can be helpful in mixing as well, which Chris is going to show you in a minute. And as he mentioned, it's designed to help us avoid being fooled by differences in loudness. We all have a tendency to assume that something that is louder just sounds better, even when sometimes it doesn't. And that's something that I refer to as the loudness deception. So I'm going to show you how I used Perception AB to avoid the loudness deception when I was mastering Chris's song. So here's the song, and I'm working in Wavelab, but Perception is fully compatible with any other DAW. And I have a very straightforward mastering chain for this song. I'm lifting up the gain, I've got some gentle compression and limiting, and I've got this EQ curve here. Now, of course, as Chris mentioned, I can bypass all of these to get a before and after comparison of the song. Let me just demonstrate that. But the problem is the big change in loudness. The mastered version sounds better to me, but is it really? And that's where Perception comes in. So I'm going to start by putting an instance of Perception right at the beginning of the processing chain here. And you can see it gives me three choices. In this case, I'm going to make this a pre-instance. It's before any processing, and then we'll add a post-instance afterwards. So that's the pre-instance before any processing in the chain. And then I'm going to come down here to the master output section and add another instance. And in this case, because we're mastering, I'm going to choose post-master. When you're mixing, you choose post-channel, and Chris will show you that in a minute. So now I'm going to play some audio and you'll see Perception measuring the pre and post loudness.
You can have it all. Won't you take me home?
And I'm also going to add sync correction And that will compensate for any latency in the chain, and it also works with external analog hardware. So if you have an analog mastering setup or a hybrid setup, perhaps where you do some digital processing and also use some external analog gear, you can still make seamless A/B comparisons using perception in that situation as well. So now I can play the audio and again toggle between the pre and post signals, which will effectively bypass the chain. But we're still hearing that difference in loudness. So now I'm going to click Match Level, and you can see that that has set the replay loudness of the pre and the post audio to -16 LUFS. That's the distribution loudness that Apple Music use. Lots of the other streaming platforms use -14. You can use any reference you like. The important thing is that the pre and the post are now matched. So now when I bypass, we won't hear that big change in overall loudness. So now we can hear really clearly mainly the differences that the EQ is making. The dynamics processing I've got for this song is really quite subtle. I wanted to keep all of the dynamics of Chris's original mix. So the big difference that we're hearing is the reduction in the little reduction in the thickness of that snare sound. We're opening up the high frequencies and we're supporting the very low bass there. So let me just play that to you again so you can see whether you can pick out those differences when the loudness is matched. And you'll notice that Perception is constantly updating the loudness estimates based on the music that it's heard. So occasionally you might want to rematch the level, although it's only really important if there's a difference between the pre and the post loudness. And in a nutshell, that's it. I'm really pleased with the way the mastered song is sounding. I think it's a little bit more glued, it has a little bit more intensity that I like, but we've managed to preserve the dynamic feel of Chris's original mix. And I think the overall EQ balance is working much better. So even when we take loudness out of the equation, I think we can say, yes, the mastered version is sounding great, which is the goal. And if I just clear the loudness difference temporarily, we can see that the overall loudness of that section of the song is -10 LUFS. So it's going to be turned down somewhat online, but not by a huge amount, which I'm comfortable with. So there you go. I hope that was helpful or useful. And now I'll pass you back to Chris so that he can show you how he used Perception AB when he was mixing this song.
Thank you, Ian. That was great. As you can see, since we're using limiters in mastering, Perception AB is a very useful tool to work with. But even when mixing, I like to use Perception AB, and let me show you how. Okay, so I have my lead vocal track right here. And if I bypass all the processing that I have on this channel, there's going to be a difference in volume. So let's try it out.
I don't wanna fight the longing. Need to find a place where I could feel like I belong.
So there's a significant difference in volume, but everything as far as gain staging goes throughout the full mix works pretty well. So there's no way I'm going to go back and just, retweak all the output levels of the plugins so I can make a fair comparison by bypassing all the plugins. At this point in the mix, it's a bit too late to mess around with this. So I'm going to use Perception AB. So add one instance of the plugin as the first plugin in my vocal chain, and I'm going to choose pre as the mode since it's the first plugin, and I'm going to do the same as the last plugin in my vocal chain, and this time around I'm going to select post channel. I'm adding Perception AB on a channel, so it's not as a master channel, but as a channel. So post channel is what I'm gonna select, and now it's gonna sync with the first instance of the plugin. And from this point, I'm just gonna level match the vocal sound, and we'll see how that's gonna go.
Wondering, I don't wanna fight the longing, need to find a place where I could feel like I belong.
So it added around 6.5 dBs to the unprocessed signal to match the level of the processed signal. So now I can do a fair comparison.
Wondering, I don't wanna fight the longing, need to find a place where I could feel like I belong.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I like that. Now, something to pay attention to here is that the pre-channel 5 was selected because that was the next available channel to sync the two plugins together, because I have other instances of Perception AB on this mix, which we're going to look at in a moment. So now, if I need to add Perception AB on another channel, I can simply copy it over to that channel by keeping my finger on Alt or Option if you're on Mac, and if you're working with Cubase, and that will copy over any plugins for that matter. And from this point, I'm going to open Perception, the first instance. And now there's a conflict because it's using the same pre-channel. So I'm just going to click on the upper arrow, which will bring it to the next available pre. And I'm going to make sure that I'm using the same pre-channel on the second instance on the same channel. And there you go. Now they are going to be synced together, but just in case, I can just click on sync. So they do actually sync together, but they do it automatically. And from this point, I can just click on the match level button to match the level up, and I'm good to go. And now the cool thing I can do with Perception AB is to add it to several channels and bypass all the channels at the same time, which is crazy. You could actually do it on all the channels in your mixing session if you wanted to. You know, that would be like lots of plugins to manage, but still, you know, you could add an instance of Perception AB on every channels and bypass all the plugins all at once by using Perception AB. But what I did in this session is to use Perception AB on my instrument buses. So I have an instance of Perception AB on my drum bus, my bass bus, guitars, and vocal bus. And each of them will use their own pre-channel. So from 1 to 4 in this case. Something important that I did, because what I want to do here is to compare the unprocessed signal of those instrument buses, because I have like several plugins inserted on some of these buses, and each of these plugins are doing a small role, but everything adds up in the end, and I want to make sure that I'm actually improving the sound with this type of processing. So I'm going to use Perception AB to do so, and I'm able to bypass all those plugins all at once with one click using those 4 instances of Perception AB, which is great. And the cool thing is I can also level match them all together by keeping my finger on Shift, and you can see the match level will turn to match level all. So let's try it out.
Find you. I need to find a place to run to. And even if I take
And now if I want to bypass all of them together, I just need to click on bypass all, and that's it.
find you. I need to find a place to run to. And even if I take a lifetime, nothing left to lose.
That's pretty cool. So that works pretty well on all channels. So this is a very cool way if you want to just bypass all processing on several channels at once. You can use a tool like Perception AB. Now, again, this is not a sponsored video, but I do have an affiliate link down below with also a discount code for you. So from the following 2 weeks on publishing this video, you can get 30% off using the coupon code Mixdown AB. The link is down below, and if you're watching this video later on, there's still a 10% off for you using the same coupon code. So enjoy Perception AB. Let me know what you think down below if you enjoy this type of plugin. And once again, a good thanks to my good friend Ian Shepherd for being part of this video. So if you have any questions or comments, you can leave everything down below, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Until next time, take care and see you.